The following program contains adult language, poor taste in jokes, racial slurs, political slurs, slants, and all sorts of things that if you are sensitive and have a delicate constitution, you should probably go watch Teletubbies. You were warned. Bam! Hey kids, welcome back! It is another wonderful hump day, Wednesday night. I have not done a rant in, I can't even tell you how long it's been, but we've got the Roto Twister with the Sailor Jerry's and the Kool-Aid and the Sprite, and we've got our vape, of course, and all that stuff. So, for those of you that are of a sensitive nature, and you saw the intro where it said, warning, there are all these little weird things coming. For those of you that might be named Scott, or these other douchebags that are offended by cursing, please be wary and turn the video off now, because I had this big long dispute with this guy the other day who, despite my warnings on my videos, gave me all this shit about cussing in my videos and children watch your stuff. It's like, what am I, fucking Sesame Street? I don't think so. Probably the only kid that watches my videos might be my nephew, who is very cool and probably smarter than most of the adults I know. So I think he can handle it. So if you are, I will reiterate the warning, if you are sensitive to cursing and you can't handle the whole victimization liberal bullshit that is going around the country today, please turn off this video and go off to your little cry corner at your local, Pinko University and have a cry. What this is about, and a lot of you may have noticed, hang on, I need a drink. This might be long-winded. I'm just warning you right now. What this is about, how do I word it, is the individuality and the personalization, is that the word I'm looking for? We'll stick with individuality of RC and the hobby, okay? And what I mean by this is something has happened that has been very, very interesting to me. I started the channel, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and I started it for friends. A few friends of mine just wanted to know a little bit of, quadcopter stuff, whatever it was, drones, GPS drones, quads, whatever it was. And one thing led to another, and it just kind of snowballed. And the sole reason I have kept this channel is for those few friends. And there's maybe, I don't know, 4,300 people that sub to me. So I'm just a little sparrow fart in the wind compared to a lot of people. And I don't care. I'm not in it for a popularity contest. I'm not in it for people to follow me. I'm in it for my buddies like Wes and Pete and Chris and all these countless others that I can't even, it would take an hour just to, all the guys in Patriot Blades and, so on and so forth. Anyway, I have gotten on from quadcopters and GPS drones, which I've built well over, I'm going to say 300 quads, well over probably 50 GPS drones, a multitude of planes, GPS planes, GPS wings and standard wings and zillions of boats and cars. And I don't do a lot of car content. And I've got some really nice cars, but I don't, I just feel that there's so much car saturation out there. Why add to it? But anyway, but getting back to the point, and I know I'm rambling, and this is going to be a long rant. So if you got shit to do, you might want to just turn this off. But what was interesting is in the 5 years that I've done quads, the group, the community, that was one of the things that you heard about a lot, the quad community, the quad community, the quad community. And everybody helps each other, and it's like, everybody helps. It's like you get on a quad forum or whatever, it's like, hey, I don't understand what a 2400 kV motor is. Can you please explain it? And bam, they're telling you everything. And it's like, they're not calling you a dick or you don't know what the fuck you're doing because you don't know. They're genuinely helping you. And I believe that mentality, when the internet first started back in the early 90s, was the same with the boat forums, the airplane forums, and the car forums. But psychology has always been kind of a side project of mine. I've always studied it, and I love it, probably because I have so many nuts in my fucking family. But And I think the reason that the quad community is so nice and so, what's the word, benign. They're not egotistical so much. I mean, you got the Bardwells of the world and even Bardwell's benign too, but he's got an ego. Nobody knows why, because the guy can't build to save his ass. But most of the people, myself included, I don't have any ego. I just always kind of built my shit, and people either liked it or they didn't. But most people were always very, very cool. And if I had a problem, people helped me, but I've helped thousands of other people. And that's not an egotistical thing. It's just true. You have a YouTube channel, and that's how it is. But I think the differential between the boat community and the quad and car and all these guys is the fact that quads are so new. I think that's what it is. I think in 15 years, all the quad guys are going to be a bunch of cunts, just like the boat guys and just like the car guys and just like the airplane guys. Now, I know I'm going to offend a lot of people in this, but it's true, because this is something, and I want you guys that are 15, 20-year, 5-year vets of boat forums and car forums and airplane forums, and I'm 44, okay? So you guys that are older than me, or maybe even you're younger than me, but you've been on it forever, I want you to, before you reply and say, oh, JJ Rotogeek's a fucking cunt, he doesn't know what he's doing, whatever, I want you to sit and reflect on this. If you read a quad forum, at least the last time I was on one, everybody's like, oh, we'll do this, this, and this. And if somebody says something different, then they'll say, well, yeah, you could do it that way, but try this, this, and this. It's always like and I'm not trying to be like some liberal pinko hippie bullshit, upbeat crap. I'm not trying to do that. But nobody's being just a cunt about it. Whereas you get on a boat forum, you quad guys out there, out of the 4,300 followers I have, probably 4,000 of them are quad guys. And the other 300 are boat and car, So you quad guys hop on the boat forum sometimes, and oh my God, it's like reading a soap opera. It's the funniest shit you will ever see in your fucking life. Somebody will say, well, if you lower the strut, it raises the hull out of the water and it gives you a drier run. And some other dude might contradict him, saying, no, that's not true. If you do this, it does that and makes it a wetter. If you raise it, it makes it, And these guys will fight for 5 pages. I mean, it's just a bunch of unbelievable chaos. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is in the last 2 years, since I've gotten back into boats, I don't belong to any forums, but I read them here and there. And I just cannot believe the evasiveness of what these guys are like. I mean, if somebody does something even remotely fucking different, and they say something different, I feel really bad for the new guys, because they'll say, well, I'm going to put a 2-bladed prop on a cat because of blah, blah, blah. These guys just go on a retort for like 3 fucking pages. You don't do that. If you do that, that's like what's-his-face did in 85. And that is the whole point of the title of this video, is there's no individualism of RC in these sects of these genres of boats and cars. It's like, if any of these boat guys see that you're doing something different, holy fuck, sweet whistling Jesus, I hope you've got a rabbit's foot in your pocket, because these guys are going to come after you. He's like, oh, you did something different. Well, we mount it like this, and we put it at a 22-degree angle, and if you don't do that, then there's going to be a ripple in the water, and the turtle's going to fart, and everything's going to come unwrapped, and it's going to be fucking horrible. And it's just so nauseating. And I'm going to tell you what spawned this. I decided I've got well over 17, 19 boats in this garage right now. I started doing RC boats in 1987, and I'm 44, and you guys know what year it is, right? I think it's 2019. Now, I have not done boats that entire time. I did take a very long sabbatical, and I got back into boats. I've been into RC for a very long time, but I got back into boats a few years ago. I'm not saying I'm an expert. Never said I was an expert. There's always something to learn. The whole point of a hobby is something to take your mind off of life. I think that's number one. I think that is truly number one. If you have a wife and 10 kids or whatever the case may be, take your mind off of life and exercise your brain in the technical capacity and the imaginative, okay? And a big chunk of it, guys, as much as you hate to admit it, is pretending. We pretend we're pilots when we're flying with goggles on and we have quadcopters. We pretend we're race car drivers when we have nitro cars going down the road, or we pretend we're hydroplane drivers, whatever the case may be. It's fun. And the big chunk of it for me has always been individualize. Come up with shit that's interesting, that's different. And you do it in quads and people are like, awesome. You do it in boats and people are like, oh, you're going to hell. You better go to fucking church because you put a sticker on a part of a boat that you shouldn't have put a sticker on. Case in point, I did Mocha, Simplex Pros. I started mounting the motors upside down and making what I called headhunters and funky paint jobs and hydro dips and all these things. And people who loved it, they hated it, whatever else. But most people said, even if they didn't really necessarily believe it was a better thing, they would say, kudos, that's interesting, and blah, 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 blah. And I did the same thing with drones, and I did the same thing with, and this isn't about me, I'm just using me as an example. This is about the majority of people. And they would say, oh, well, you know, he 3D printed all the stuff to this, and he did all that, and he did this really cool hydro dip on that, and he's using those monster motors on these small ESCs, but it works great. Maybe we should try it. The boat, car, and airplane, and I don't know airplane communities as much, but definitely boat and car, just get on them and read. If you do something different, the individualism of it is completely fucking gone. If you do something off the cuff, oh my God. Like I said, sweet Louis Lynn Jesus. It's a bad thing. Now, I'm going to give you an example why. When I built Vader, all right, which is the big, if you guys follow my channel, you saw the big gas hydro. It's a 30cc hydro. I have 6 gassers. I have a gas V. I have 2 gas hydros. I have a gas cat. I have a gas outrigger. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't matter. But I have a lot of gas boats. I have gas cars. And all my other boats are nitro, and a couple of electrics. But I'm pretty much a nitro and gas guy. And so I built Vader, and I decided I'm going to do a build series because a lot, you know, it's rare. You don't see a lot of boat stuff. And the first thing I noticed when I got this haul, and I started looking into it, which was an Aero Marine Chaos Hydro, which I love, just fucking badass. But I didn't like where the engine was. I just didn't, from a maintenance standpoint, from a starting standpoint, everything. That to me just didn't mechanically make sense. Now, I'm a robotic applications engineer for a living. That's what I've done for 25 years. So I know mechanics fairly well. I know electronics fairly well. I know computers fairly well. It's just, you know, part of the game. So I'm looking at this from an engineering standpoint, and I'm like, I don't like it. I think the engine should be moved up 3 inches forward. Okay, we'll make that work. It's not that big of a deal because you've got 2 things to consider. You've got what's called point of mass, which all you boat guys that think you're physics wizards, look it up. And then you've got another thing called center of gravity. Well, these guys, because they race toy boats, they think they know everything about fucking physics. But I decided to mount my engine 3 or 4 inches behind where it's supposed to be. You cannot believe, guys, the hate mail and bullshit that I got over that. I had people emailing me. I had people sending me messages on YouTube. You can't, I mean, literally personal emailing me to my Patriot Blades webpage. And I even had a forum director, and I'll leave the, I'll leave his name out of it and the forum out of it because it's not important. This isn't about bashing. This is just to prove to you how fucked up everything is. This guy who's the head guy who's apparently popular and super brilliant about racing toy boats sent me an email, and it was only, 3 or 4 lines, and he goes, hey, JJ RotoGeek, blah, 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 blah. You've come up a lot in our forums in a negative way because my Vader videos completely pissed off and irritated people because I moved that fucking engine this far back. And he's like, I really highly recommend that you come to our forum because it's a great place for beginners so they don't repeat the same mistakes others made. I'm like, and I'm not saying I'm an expert. There is no ego implied here whatsoever because a hobby's only a hobby until you stop learning, okay? But I replied to him, and I sent him a reply about that fucking long, about here's how it works. Here's the point of mass. Here's center of gravity. This is how it's going to work. This is how it's going to run, and blah, 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 blah. And I was very polite. I wasn't derogatory. I wasn't like I normally am. And I sent him this big, long-winded email back saying, hey, I appreciate you reaching out. I think that's how I opened it up. And I sent it back, and the fucker never even sent me a reply back. Not a hello, fuck you, goodbye, nothing. And I'm like, that's pretty much sums it up for the boat community. Now, I'm not grouping every single boater guy in these communities. I'm really not. I'm talking about these self-absorbed egomaniacs that never fucking get laid and have nothing better to do than to critique other people's shit, like I do to Bardwell, but I only do it to Bardwell. These guys are like a cult. It's really fucked up. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I said, point blank, I'm not building a race boat. I want to build a hydroplane that's reasonably fast, that I enjoy, that's fun. I am not in a boat club. I do not race and blah, 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 blah. And I had these people sending me all these hate mails about that piece of shit, which is Vader, is going to flip. That piece of shit's going to handle like crap. This, and just, I can't. And people saying literally on YouTube, and don't build like this guy because he sucks, which I don't give a shit. If you want to build like me, great. If not, I don't give a fuck. You're not paying me for a job here. So I did all this stuff, and I'm not stupid. I mean, I've been around boats my entire life. I was raised on a lake. I worked at a fucking marina when I was younger. I was an apprentice boat mechanic, and I'm not an expert, but I understand about center of gravity and point of mass and, you know, turning rotations and whatever else. So I want you guys to take a look at this clip. This is the boat without the engine even broken in on pretty much the maiden. I gave it a couple of tweaks on the engine, but it's not even broke in yet. Watch this.
I think the hull's running really well. Could be a little drier, maybe.
Okay, did you see it flipping? Did you see it running like shit? Now, I think the hull is running a little bit wet. I need to lower my strut, bring it up so the hull runs a little drier. But other than that, the thing looked okay to me for an engine that's not even broken or tuned. So there you go there, boat community. And the whole point of this, what I'm trying to get across to you new guys, and this isn't about boats. This isn't about cars. I've got some amazing cars, but I don't get on car forums because I've got a buddy in New Mexico who's fucking brilliant with RC cars. I actually got him into nitro, and the fucking guy knows more about the shit than I do now. I talk to him when I have a problem. Or I talk to JJ Horvath, who is amazing with boats. The guy builds brilliantly. He's kind of like me. He does hydros. He does everything. And if I have a question, I bounce ideas off of him. The whole point of a hobby, guys, is to challenge yourself, is to be creative. Don't just build a quadcopter that looks like a fucking piece of black carbon fiber with 4 motors on it. Individualize it. A lot of you guys are spending 2 or 3 days building these fucking things, or if you're building a boat, months, or if you're building a plane, months, whatever the case, make it fucking unique. Don't get on a forum and just listen to people because, well, I have 25 boats and they're all fucking identical and they run great. Well, an intelligent person utilizes the resources. I've said that in all my classes when I used to teach and whatever else. If you have somebody, and I've said this to my son who's 25, if you have somebody that has been through it before and can get advice from, by all means, ask them, utilize your resources, but don't take it verbatim and don't take it to the point where that person is the know-all, be-all, end-all. Use your own intellect, use your own ingenuity, use what God gave you, your fucking brain. Sometimes you're gonna fail and sometimes you're gonna win. I don't think Vader turned out too bad, and it's not even done. I haven't tuned the hull, I haven't broken the engine, and I haven't tuned the engine to full capacity. And the boat's running like a raped ape. And all these fucking guys that poo-pooed me are just like, oh my God, that thing is never gonna run. Is it a race boat that's gonna win world championships? Absolutely not. Did I design it to be that way? No, I did not. But everything that they said it would do. It does not do. It runs perfectly fine. The engine's horribly reliable. The hull is running great. The center of gravity is fucking perfect. It's 2 inches behind the ride surface. So a big fat fuck you to all you guys in the boat industry or the boat forums that just think you're God's gift because you do 5 races and you learned from some guy 40 years ago how to build a hull. And I run into this in my career all the time. And I know I'm rambling, but I haven't done a rant in a while. Where it's like I go into these factories, I go into GM, Ford, Chrysler, all these places that I do my business, multi-billion-dollar customers. And a lot of times the maintenance guys or the engineering guys will say to me, they'll say, well, we've done that for 35 years. I said, well, you've done the wrong thing for 35 years. You know, it doesn't necessarily, just because it has longevity doesn't mean that it's right. Right? I mean, it's like these guys that are, people that have been married for 30 years that throw plates at each other. Well, okay, you've been married 30 years. That doesn't necessarily make your marriage good. It's one of those things. So my advice to you new guys, whether it's quads, cars, boats, planes, hovercrafts, blow-up dolls, whatever the fuck it is, read the forums. I don't necessarily think you should join them. I think they're a bunch of... the quad ones seem to be okay. And I'm not being biased. I was raised on quads. I started quads and drones 5 years ago, and boats and cars and all that crap been around for 30 years or more, or well, since the internet got going. I'm not being biased. It's because quads are new and you've got new discoveries all the time, and you've got boats, cars, and planes where all these guys are just reiterating and puking up the same shit the guy before them puked up. Take that advice, because a lot of these people have a great deal to teach you. Don't get me wrong. Prop depth and, where are you putting your strut? Where are you putting, are you putting your rudder forward, backward, blah, 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 ride surfaces and all this stuff. Great things to learn on these forums. But don't get sucked into the whole egomaniac, well, if you don't do it this way, it's going to be a piece of shit. That is fucking crap. I'm just telling you right now, the whole point of a hobby is expressing yourself, understanding the process, and you will actually learn more if you do fail. My nitro tug, I've had 3 fucking engines in that thing. The boat itself turned out perfect, but the first engine I had in it sucked. The second engine I had in it sucked. Now I'm putting in a different engine, but it's not even designed to have a nitro engine in it, so it's all trial and error. Because I want it to do a certain thing that's not designed to do, and I'm going to keep pissing around with it until I get it right, or until it just ends up on a shelf in my bathroom. So to you new guys, these people that are having these little soap operas that never get laid, that are, petting their fucking poodles at night and have nothing better to do but build a boat once a year and think they're God's gift, or quad, or plane, whoever it is, take their advice, look into it, use your head, but don't necessarily think it's the be-all, end-all of everything in the fucking world, because it's not. And do not let people derail you from what your vision is, because I think, and I talked to my buddy Wes, my buddy Pete, all my friends that I talk to on a daily basis, I get visions for this stuff. It's like, I want to build this hydroplane. I want to call it Vader. It's going to be black, and it's going to have white accents, which completely fucked up because they said they wouldn't do it in black. They'd only do it in white. So I called it Vader anyway. But I had every single thing I do, whether it's a quad that changes colors like this. I don't know if you can see that in there, but it changes colors. Drones, whatever. I have these, when I airbrush boats, when I do things, I have these specific visions. And that's not a prophecy thing. It's just like I go to bed at night, I shut my eyes, I think, okay, what do I want this to look like? How do I want to run? Do I want it to be a stable boat and just enjoyable, or do I want it to be stressful and fast and almost flipping? Things like that. When you get that in your head, try to follow through with it, and don't let other people derail that just because they learned from a guy 35 years ago to set the prop height this much. Take their advice, utilize your resources, but don't necessarily take it verbatim. And I want everybody, all you guys in quads, boats, or not quads, boats, planes, cars, hovercrafts, whatever you're doing, get out of your little circle and go to a quad forum sometime and watch how those guys communicate. It's completely different, and it's far more high tech, but that has nothing to do with it. It's the fact that it's a new process, and it's not just regurgitating everything that your fucking grandfather's, mother's, uncle's brother said. and open your brain a little bit and don't just piss on people. It's like, oh, well, he moved the engine 3 inches back. It's going to be the biggest piece of shit in the world. Don't listen to that guy. Really? It's center, point of mass, center of gravity. You can adjust that. It's not a big deal. And I did, and it works fine. So you new guys that are out there, please keep being intuitive. Please keep using your imaginations and doing things the way you want them. It will make it a better hobby. More people will learn new things, including yourself, than just regurgitating the same old bullshit since the 70s. That's all I'm saying. So with that, that is my rant. Keep RC interesting. Breathe new life into it. Be like the quad guys. Be like, don't just do the same old bullshit over and over and over again and then doom on people that do something different. That's my advice for today. So anyway, kids, been a long day. Keep the shiny side up. Bye.